Hello, hello. Just waiting to see if anybody jumps on. I haven't done this sort of thing before. I've not done a live before, so I don't know if anybody's here and if anybody can see me. So if you're here, could you possibly say yes in the chat? Because I've got no idea whether I'm supposed to see people that can see me or not. So yes, I'm assuming at the moment that I'm waiting for people to jump on, and that if people were here, I'd be able to see them. So yeah, if you are here and I can't see you, then if you could please message yes in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting here talking to myself, which is, there's no point in that, because I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to answer any questions. I've got some questions maybe to ask you. Oh, okay. Hi, Brittany. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Hi, Maggie. Oh, some people. Oh, okay. Brittany just helped me by saying, press the comments. I do apologize. So what you're going to have to do is, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. So Maggie, when she says from NC, I do apologize. You're going to have to maybe give me a bit more information. So I'm assuming that's in America. So what does NC mean? So hi, Maggie, teaching first grade. Hi, Margaret from SC. I don't know the American states. Is that what that is? SC, South California? No, North California? Am I right at all? Second grade, first grade, perfect. Simona, lovely. Another Brittany Brown Books. Oh, NC, North Carolina. Yay, I got that right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Maggie, for telling me that. And SC is South Carolina. So I'm not as ignorant as I thought I was. Simona and Brittany Brown Books, maybe could you possibly tell me where you're from at all? That would be amazing if you could pop that. Oh, Brittany's from Maryland. The only thing I know about Maryland is the cookies. I'm really sorry. That's a bit trite, but yes, Maryland cookies. 10th grade English. So yeah, you're the teaching the older children, and Simona teaching 11th and 12th grade English. So we've got some people teaching the younger children and some people teaching the older ones. Now, I've mainly taught early years, right? So mainly children from between the ages of 4 to 8. That's mainly the children that I have taught. Oh, Simona, you're from Romania. Oh, gosh. When I taught in the Middle East, Simona, I had some children from Romania. We had colleagues from Romania. And I know it's the absolutely most beautiful country. I do know that. You're so lucky to have that. And of course, there's amazing states in America. I know. I haven't visited America. Has anybody visited the UK at all? Yeah, I would love to know if you've ever visited the UK. That would be amazing to know that. But yeah, as I said, I've taught the younger children. But having said that, when I was in the Middle East, which was in the sort of second part of my teaching career, so I taught in the UK for 12 years, then went to the Middle East. If you've seen my session already, we'll go into that in a minute. You're welcome, Simona. Oh, Simona's been to London. Fabulous. Yeah. I live about a couple of hours from London on the south coast by the sea, in a pretty little town called Bexhill by the sea. So yes, but what I would say about teaching is that when I was in the Middle East, I taught in one of the biggest primary schools in the world. It was in a country called Kuwait, which isn't as known, that country, Kuwait. But a lot of teachers go to the Middle East because you get a tax-free salary in the sun. And so a lot of teachers there go to save lots of money. You can save lots of money. It's not necessarily an easy life in a place like Kuwait. It's not very touristy, which is why you would get more money. And this is what I sometimes can give to teachers that come to me and talk to me, because as you know, you probably will know I'm an ex-teacher and I taught for 20 years. But sometimes if you're in a bit of a pickle, if things aren't going so well for you, obviously leaving teaching doesn't have to be your first point of call if you're feeling stressed, and most teachers do go through stress times. But changing schools or even changing countries, and I have to say, going to the Middle East, that was eye-opening. But as I said, it was the biggest primary school in the world, and it had a secondary campus. So I got to talk to colleagues who taught, especially colleagues who taught the 14-year-olds. And they are something else when you're teaching 14-year-olds. And I do feel that when children sort of start to hit the teenage years, that it's almost like it's like teaching a younger child in an older child's body because of hormones and stuff, right? So that can be trickier. I think teaching older children when they're teenagers can be just as tricky as teaching the younger ones. So the other question I would love to ask is, have you seen my presentation today? That's what I would love to know. Have you seen my presentation? Because that will enable me to move forwards and help you with anything that you might have to ask me. So yeah, if you could put a yes if you've seen my session, that would be really good to know. And if you haven't, put a no. Oh, hi, Erica. Okay, Simona hasn't, Erica hasn't. Brittany Brown-Brooks, you have. Okay. Brittany, I would love to know, what was your takeaway from my session? Was it relevant at all to you? That would be really great to know. Yes, so absolutely, Brittany. So what I do now, so outside of teaching, so if you've seen anything in the Facebook group, so I left teaching, I resigned in 2020. And the reason why I help teachers with stress and with burnout is because of what I went through. And oh, Kim, okay, Kim's saying yes, and she loves the book ending. So yeah, I'll talk a bit more about that. Perfect. Thank you, Brittany Brown-Brooks. Yeah, we've got two Brittany, so I'm going to keep saying your surname. Sorry, definitely relevant. Okay, so what happened to me was, if you haven't seen my session, as I said, I got very stressed and burnt out. I actually didn't know that I was starting to burn out. I know more about burnout now, but there was a variety of reasons, not just because I was getting stress from the job, but what often happens is that you put your all into your job as a teacher, don't you? Right? That's what we do. We live and breathe the profession. And then what often happens is, with a lot of teachers that I know, is one of the factors in burnout can either be something like a toxic work environment, or sometimes when you get promoted, it works out that it's more stress than you thought it would be. But also what can also push burnout can be if something happens outside of your teaching life. And so for me, this final factor was, I'm an only child and my parents both became unwell at the same time. And so my holidays are precious, precious holidays. As you know, I was spent going to visit we were all in different countries. I was in the Middle East, my dad was in the UK, and my mum was in Gran Canaria. So I was then trying to visit my two parents every holiday, trying to visit and trying to support them because they became both really unwell. And so I think this is one of the things, again, is that if things happen outside of your teaching life, you all of a sudden can realize that you haven't got any more to give. And I had to give. I was an only child, so I had to keep trying to support and give outside of my teaching life. And it's a bit like running a car when the gas or the petrol, as we would say in the UK, when the tank's going, when the tank is dry. And for me, I started to realize that I was running on empty. Now, I was when I led to me resigning, I was very grateful. I found my therapy training because I had a health scare as well. So I found this therapy training online. We were all online in 2020, a lot of us, weren't we? So I found my therapy training. So I qualified in 2021. as a cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist and mindset coach. And all of the therapy skills are used on myself, which is, I've shared just a minute amount of the things that I learnt as a therapist and coach. And so if you haven't seen my session, you're going to get 3 really simple techniques that you can start to integrate into your life to start to help you shift things around. Because I started off with just a 1-minute visualization technique, a positive visualization technique, because once I did my therapy training, and this is what I get from lots of teachers, is we start to have these sort of negative cycles of thoughts and beliefs about who we are in teaching. We can get quite ground down by our teaching identity. And I think that all of my identity was attached to my self-worth as a teacher, and I had sort of nothing left to give outside. Oh, okay. Brittany says she loves the positive visualization suggestion. Yeah, perfect. So if you haven't seen my session, please do watch it, because everything that I do to help teachers is always based on really, really simple things, like the simplest things, like 1 minute or less, because I know how tired and exhausted that teachers can get. And it's a bit like New Year's resolutions don't work, because you the bar is too high. You'll set yourself too high. So I am a therapist and a coach now. I mainly help educators and ex-educators, because they were the people around me who started saying to me, what are you doing? They noticed the difference in me. And so I started sharing what helped me. Yes, Erica, that's right. The one thing I would really say is having a life outside of teaching. If I could go back in time, that would be the thing that I would make sure that I would do. But more than that, it was about having a life in my head outside of teaching. So it could be that you're doing things so other people might have seen. As far as I was concerned, I was going out, I was doing yoga once a week, I was eating healthily, I was meeting friends for coffee. But especially when I got promoted, what happened to me was I started comparing myself with others unfavorably. And that then, if you watch my session, I talk about imposter syndrome. And this is a factor in burnout. When you start to doubt yourself, you start to doubt your teaching ability. That started for me for about 7 years in teaching. So I'm just wondering, how you guys are feeling about this. Do you find yourself comparing yourself with others? And how are you feeling about yourself? Do you feel that you're a good teacher, or do you find yourself sort of doubting yourself? I would be interested in that. How are you feeling about yourself as a teacher? Do you doubt yourself? Do you compare yourself to others? That's what I would love to know, because maybe we could work on that right now. Do let me know. Oh, Margaret said, oh wait, I did watch your session. Maybe you've watched loads. So the 3, so positive visualization. If you watch my session, I explain a little bit about why it's so important, but it can really help to rewire your brain. I've also got a document in my session called an imposter spotter, and I haven't attached it for people to get hold of that. But if you do want to get hold of it, in the session, I have got my details, so you can message me on Instagram, Selfing with Claire. That's all the way through the session. Please do message me to get a free copy of that. I can send that to you for free, because it's really important that you work out what are the thoughts and feelings that you have about yourself as a teacher. And I've introduced a real technique in that session as well. And it's MUST, masturbation, not the other one. And it's things like when you say to yourself, I must, I have to, I should, I ought to, I have to do this, I have to get things right, I have to be the best teacher, things have to be perfect. And I talk about in my session about perfectionism. And again, this is the setting yourself these unrealistic standards. And another thing I talk about is just, we need to take a step back. We are human. We are human. We are not infallible. We are fallible. We are here to make mistakes. We are here to grow, like growth mindset, right? Like we do with the kids. So it's there's a lot of really simple things. I've tried to make it so that it's really easy, the techniques for you to take on board and have a go at. And I've said to you in the session, there's of the three key techniques. So there's a couple of mindset techniques in the morning. So even just like visualizing your day going well. And I talk about how, you know, when you wake up in the morning and all your thoughts are like, oh, the day's going to be awful, and I talk about this negativity bias, and it's just about starting just to stop all of that negativity and just start to reframe it, because you're making yourself feel unsafe. We can end up turning school into the enemy, right, into this tiger that you're going into, and it sets off your nervous system. It sets us into survival mode, and then you're releasing these stress hormones, which isn't good for us as teachers. Oh, Margaret, you've looked at that. Yeah, be the perfectionist and the natural. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Do you know, Margaret, honestly, I haven't spoken to any teacher that doesn't identify with some of the perfectionist statements. So if you haven't seen my session, please do go in there and have a little look, because what I'm giving you is a snippet of workable techniques that you can start to use right now, straight away. Work on it now before you get yourself back into school. But this bookending technique, so these techniques before the beginning of the day and the end of the day, they will support you inside and outside of teaching. Whatever you do in your life, they're really, really important techniques to support what you think about yourself, because what you say to yourself can either build you up or it can break you down, right? It is as simple as that. And I didn't realize just how much this very harsh inner critic that I had was just breaking me down every day. And it broke my spirit in the end, so that I actually became my worst enemy, if that makes sense. It wasn't that loads of people at school were saying, you're awful, you know, you're no good, compared to other people, you're rubbish and all of this. Like, literally, that wasn't going on. I was saying it to myself. And so this is what a lot of the work that I do with teachers is to the insight you have into your own mind, and starting to reframe that is really, really important. But you have to do it one little step at a time. And so with those key techniques, if you just start to implement into your daily life, like I said, I just did the 1 minute visualization in the morning, or maybe you want to do 3 wins at the end of the day. Again, our brain has this negativity bias, so we're looking for things that aren't going well, because from an evolutionary perspective, we're looking for tigers, right? Those were the ones that were out to get us. We needed, but the survival brain that we have is there to keep us safe. Yeah, so that it's really good that we've got this survival brain, because that's the one that will it'll stop you walking out in front of a car, or it'll pull you away from a car coming towards you. Yeah, it will step in before you've even had a chance to think about what you're doing. It will save you from that. It steps in, it's automatic. But this automatic process can start to take over your life, so that work can become the tiger. Yeah, it's like you have a tiger on your shoulder all the time. That child, that parent, that observation, right? I think someone, yeah, and Brittany's talking about, I always have great observations, but I always feel like I've done something horrible. Yeah, so it's like this, your brain's always looking for, yeah, but what didn't go well, because it's trying to keep you safe. So that's why it's really important to work out, what are you saying to yourself? What are your thoughts? Let's rationalize them. Let's have a nice, rational, logical mindset going on. We can't be happy all the time, but rationalizing and just dialing down all that critical noise in your mind is really, really important. So being aware at the beginning of the day, what am I thinking about the day ahead? Okay, yes, it might not go well today, but what if it did go well? And seeing yourself overcoming any hurdles or obstacles, it gives you hope for the day. And you're going to find the more you do that, you're going to arrive in school in a better state of mind. Oh, thank you, Margaret. You like the wellbeing boosters. Yeah. Are you going to trial them? So people that have seen the session or are going to see the session, I really do urge you, please, 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 do trial either all 3 or 2 of them or 1 of them. And I would really love to know if you can get in contact with me. I'm not trying to push you to work with me at all. I just love the information from people. Yeah, if you can let me know how that goes, because as I said, I started off with a 1 minute visualization technique. Yeah, right. I don't want to go to school, but So yeah, this was what I did with a client. Now that client that I work with, she's now a therapy assistant. I helped her transition out of teaching, and she still works in a school, but now she's a therapy assistant in a specialist school, and she works with teachers, and her therapy team really appreciate her being an ex-teacher, actually. So that's the other thing about being a teacher, is that if you're in there to make a difference, and I bet that's what you were, I bet most of you would have gone into teaching because you want to make a difference, and that's the same with me. But also I'll be interested because my mum was a teacher. So I'll be honest with you, I saw it all. I saw all the backstage stuff, as it were. I saw the background stuff. I saw her marking books into the evening. I saw her not being able to give me the time because she was putting her time into her job. So with you people, anybody in the family in education, was that did that sway you or not? Because me, it put me off, but also it gave me sort of an idea that I think I could do it though, if that makes sense. So I had this thing of, I'm not sure I want to do it because I know the hard work that it is, but I always had this feeling that if I went for it, I thought, I bet I could be good at it. And I loved it. When I first started out, I absolutely loved it. And I tell you what, when I started putting those, the wellbeing booster techniques into place, those were the sorts of things I put into place whilst I was working out my notice. That's how I know they work, because they started to work for me. I started to notice the difference. But by then I was really, I'd resigned already. I was hooked on my therapy training. But if I'd had to stay in teaching, I could have done, because they were starting to transform how I felt about myself and how I felt about school. And how you feel about your life, your perspective on your life is everything. It really, really makes a difference. Oh, your godmother is an art teacher. Yeah, okay. Now, it's interesting though, Maggie, because one thing that my mum said to me was that when I went into teaching, she immediately noted that it was quite different. So that she said, oh gosh, it's got harder since you've gone into teaching. And I wonder if that's been said to you. And bearing in mind, I taught for 20 years. So now I'm back in the UK. I can see it's even tougher for teachers now. I talk to teachers who are on their knees in their job. And so I work with teachers, and like, for example, I worked with a couple of teachers last year at the sort of August, September time. And they were both heads of department, and both of them were at the stage where I don't think I can carry on anymore. And it was really interesting that by the end of, like, I've got a program that I work called the Self-Belief Shift. By the end of that program, one of the heads of department actually decided we'd got her to a point where she wasn't bothered in the same way by teaching anymore. She decided to stay because we'd done so much work on herself and on her viewpoint, and she worked out she was quite intolerant towards others. Both these teachers were young, they got promoted, and it didn't quite work out the way that they wanted. So working with these teachers on their mindset, and starting with the things that I've taught you, working on that and growing into, adding other techniques as well. One teacher decided by the end of it, actually, I want to stay. This is definitely the job for me. And the other teacher, the other head of department, it wasn't for her by the end of it. She decided, actually, it's right for me to step out of this particular type of teaching. But actually, she wants to stay. She wants to be in communication and use her teaching skills with children. So that's the other thing as well, is if you want to make a difference, you can still teach children, you can be in contact with children, but you might not want to be classroom based. There are other things that you can do. So that's the other thing that yes, exactly. Brittany, yeah, you've got a cousin who 20 years in. Kim, your father was a teacher, and your daughter's a teacher. Yeah, it's sort of in the family, isn't it? My dad was a teacher, then he became an an educational psychologist. So definitely education is in the family. I love teachers so much. I talk to them all the time. I miss it in lots of ways. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the children. But I don't miss the education system in the way that it doesn't prioritize teachers' mental health and well-being. And I think that you have the same issues in America with that, because I'm on Instagram and I see lots of people saying similar things. And so, it's definitely, I think it's got much more difficult. And this is why you really need to start taking care of your mental health. And it isn't like, I see a lot of stuff about well-being sessions in school where it doesn't seem to be helpful. And I'm wondering why this is, because I've started working with schools, and what I'm doing with them, I don't understand it. I'm talking about these sorts of really simple techniques, and it seems to be that these aren't being implemented into schools in the way that I would do it. There are things happening, and it sort of sounds okay. It sounds like, oh, this might be helpful. But one teacher said to me, who's a wellbeing lead, she said it sort of turned into just people just complaining about their job all the time, which isn't great, is it? You need to have some actual techniques like the ones that I've talked about. You need to have something where you are starting to put it into place. So no matter what the circumstances are around you, you are taking care of your own mental health. And not relying on other people to do that. I don't think we can rely on schools necessarily to do that, but there are amazing principals out there. I know, I talk to them, and amazing head teachers. The data, I think the database. So so if anybody's got any questions, either about what I've said so far, I've tried to give you a flavour, and I've tried to reflect a little bit on either what you're going to see from my session or what you have seen in my session. And again, please do contact me if you want to chat with me. I chat to people all the time for free. You know, if you want a little chat, I can give you a little free bit of coaching. But yeah, anybody got any questions that you would like to ask me? What is the hardest thing for you in teaching at the moment? That's what I want to know. So I can see that the database and thoughts and feelings about yourself as a teacher, and that's why my session is going to help you. So anything to do with you feeling that I'm not great as a teacher or anything like that at all, please watch my session or rewatch it and start implementing my techniques, because that's going to start to help you turn that around. Because it's very difficult to change the system, right? We're not going to be able to change the system. And even if you're in a leadership position, you can do amazing things. But even so, you're often working against things. And I know there's so many amazing people speaking about all different aspects of helping you as teachers. So this conference is amazing, that I'm so proud to be part of it. Yeah, the database, and makes you feel, meeting expectations. Yeah, the expectations. And this standardization, it doesn't make sense, right? We're supposed to accommodate all children's all different needs, and then they're given the same, all given the same test. So yeah, I think that I really struggled with that, because you sort of feel that this is sort of wrong, really, what I'm doing. I think that's the other thing I struggled with, is that I don't feel this is right, what we're doing for the children. And so you try and make it the best that you can, don't you? Yeah. So I think that's another thing as well, where you've got things around you, where you're in a school where, you can move if the team or the leadership team is toxic, then that's something you can, you can move. And that's what a lot of teachers do, and try and get yourself into a teaching environment where you have got supportive people. If you're wanting to stay in teaching, which so many teachers are, I think that's very, very important, because the leadership can then help to manage parents' expectations, which is what they should be doing, and making sure that parents have realistic expectations. And that is a tricky one, isn't it? That pressure that they want the A's. When I worked in the Middle East, the parents were very, very, they wanted A's all the time, and could get quite aggressive with you about it. So again, I think that ability for you to calm yourself, for you to soothe yourself, for you to sort of, another thing as well, just write your thoughts down, do a little brain dump as well in the evening. If things are getting a bit much, just dump it all on a piece of paper, left hand side of a piece of paper. Have a look at what your brain is saying to you, your mind is saying to you. Okay, let's have a look. Is this all really true? And then you can start to rationalize and reframe it. It's really important as a first point of call. That's what I teach, the mindset stuff, about what's going on in our mind, and let's make sure it's all rational and logical and true. And what if the opposite were true? That's another good thing as well to consider. So I think the session might be ending soon. I'm not sure. I could sit here and chat with you all day, but I hope the session, this little live, has been helpful. Please do utilize the things that I've said in the session, and contact me if you want to know any more. But really lovely to see you all. Bye. So lovely to be here. And I hope that you contact me and let me know how you get on. Thank you so much.